There we go.
We're here. Hello, everybody. It's Shanna.
And Jill.
And
Clayton.
Yay! Happy Tuesday.
Yay! Yes. Hey, everybody.
We've gone viral, or did we go fungal?
We went fungal. We're definitely fungal. What a good topic, right? There's fungus among us.
That's right. I'm gonna go shopping, but we can get some chanterelles, some psilocybin, some aspergillus.
Yeah. Lovely.
That's funny.
Fungus, that's such a good topic. All right, everybody, I'm just going to start out real quick with our little medical disclaimer. So we are here for education, information, and entertainment purposes. We are here just to simply give you guys some information so that you can facilitate your own healing. We are not medical doctors. We don't claim to be medical doctors. We don't claim to treat, heal, cure, prevent, mitigate illness or disease, which we all know that there really isn't illness or disease. There's just an underlying bunch of symptoms that they threw a label on for you. So we are here to talk about fungus and its role on said illness and disease and symptoms. Because right now, more than ever, everybody's lungs are under attack.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of the situation you're in, your lungs are under attack, right? Severe, acute, respiratory virus.
And not just your lungs, but your microbiome in your gut too, which is as or even more important. So we'll probably hit on that a little bit.
I would venture to guess we would, because I think the gut underlies everything. If you have an unhealthy digestive system, forget it. That's definitely going to be a topic of today.
Yeah.
Okay. This could start anywhere. It could start at a multitude of places. One of the things I posted on my Facebook recently was just a question about, has everybody seen sort of an increase in, sorry, I didn't put my phone on that. Okay, on Do Not Disturb. Okay, so has anybody seen an increase in mucus and phlegm? Sorry if everybody's eating lunch, my apologies. But I feel like every time I hit Facebook, no matter whether I'm on a group or I'm just scrolling through, somebody's asking about mucus and phlegm. And I don't think it's any surprise or any, I don't know, that this is happening on an increased amount.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is having extra. So now we have to go backwards, right? Why do we have the extra mucus and phlegm happening? And I think if you come back, you're going to find that poor digestive system leading to bacterial, fungal, yeast, all the overgrowths in the digestive system. And then it also gets into all the little alveoli of the lungs.
Mm-hmm.
And people are having trouble breathing. So a lot of these people that are, maybe we should have had this one off this website or off this platform as well.
We'll just have to be careful.
Yeah. So a lot of people that are having issues with the current V that's going on are actually having trouble with overgrowth of yeast, mold, fungus. Their lungs are just in terrible health anyway. So it makes the difference. Here we sit, and almost a year and a half later, and I love to ask people, what have you done? What have you done to protect yourself, your body, your family, your health, in case you would get this? Because that's really what this comes down to, is how are you going to protect your family, yourself, your health? And I think we're going to cover a lot of how we can go ahead and protect it.
We can hit on that quite a bit, and I think the important part to understand with the environment we live in. If you look at viral exposure, if you're exposed to a virus, your immune system has to address the virus, which can decrease your immune function for the period of time. But also with vaccines, and what's really, really, really important to understand, that it is not just with the current vaccines. If you want to classify what's being done currently as a vaccine, but with all vaccines, any of them, when you're injected with them, they decrease your immune system. And if you're paying attention, if you're a geek like me, because Christina and I do this when we get our little bit of time to decompress and actually watch a television show, I pay attention to the ads because it's the advertisements are the only reason that the television shows are on anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But we find it interesting, or at least I find it interesting. She finds it interesting because a lot of the drugs she used to work on when she was in biotech are on TV, right? The commercials for human monoclonal antibodies and such, a lot of those she did research on. But if you listen to the commercials now, there's a line that's been slipped into all of the human monoclonal antibodies specifically, because really that's what they're partially injecting into people now. And it states this as they're going over the possible symptoms and side effects, that if you've ever had a vaccine, you shouldn't use these human monoclonal antibodies. You shouldn't use these drugs if you've had a vaccine. Now, they don't state which vaccine, but it's quite clear that for the first time putting that in, and they're letting people know, look, if you've been vaccinated, don't use this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because of a couple things that happen, right? You have the suppression of immune function, with the vaccine. So if you have other comorbidities or underlying issues, which most people do in some aspects, right, that the suppression of your immune system causes a massive overgrowth and the introduction of viruses into your body. Granted, your microbiome is loaded with fungus,
mm-hmm.
with mold, with bacteria, with viral particles and viruses and parasites and such, some good, some bad, right? And it's all about creating balance. You're not going to have all good all the time because you don't want that. It's like having really good dirt, right? There's pathogens in soil, that help to kill stuff, but there's also the nutrients and everything that help plants grow. The same thing goes on in your body, but if your immune system is suppressed and it's decreased, then you can have an absolute explosion of fungal overgrowth that takes place in your gut. It can go throughout your body and create chaos. And Christina and I have been going over this for the last couple months because she knows, based on the literature, that this is what's causing most of the problems in people, right? And it's what kills most cancer patients. If you do a full autopsy or a necropsy on someone that died of cancer, it's usually not cancer that kills them. It's the fungal overgrowth that takes place because of the suppression of the immune system that their body can't overcome. So the key thing, and I was looking up some interesting articles, for this topic of conversation. One of the first ones I pulled up that was published in April of this year, it talks about vaccine-induced immunological memory and invasive fungal infections, and they're talking about creating a vaccine for funguses. We don't need a vaccine for fungal exposure. It's like, but this is, and that's from the Division of Immunology or Clinical Immunology and Rheumatology from the University of Pittsburgh. You go, okay, this is the problem, right? Is you can't go back to the beast to try to find solutions. You're not going to see it. They're going to publish a lot of data and a lot of literature to say, hey, this is what we want to look at. This is how we solve the problem. But we know you're not. If you have something acute or something traumatic, there's benefit of going that way. But the alternative to take care of yourself and take care of your family does not revolve around pharmaceutical intervention.
Yeah.
So
I do want to pop in here really quickly because we are headed towards the approval for children. And I just wanted to mention that, lo and behold, we now have an approved blood thinner for children.
That's awesome.
Great. So let's create the problem and then let's.
Well, you really have to think about that, because if they do have an approved blood thinner for children, that could be an easier mechanism to actually extract adrenochrome. Oh, sorry, that's wrong of me to bring that up. But there's too many issues. And I think what's really important for everyone to understand, and Shanna can speak more clearly to this because she's much more adept when it comes to scripture than I am because of her upbringing. But being Christian, like I have my hardware I get to wear today, and understanding that it's in the book, if you want to follow it, that people are going to be deceived. And if you don't think you're in the middle of the great deception, you're not paying attention. Because last week, the mainstream media announced that Pfizer's vaccine was approved by the FDA, and that was a lie. That was a blatant lie, and it was intentional. So you go, well, why would they do that? Because this is all about deception. But what's most important is that you will choose. You choose. There's nothing, a mandate is not a law, right? A demand is not a law. So you have to understand, you have to look at history. There was a time back in the 1950s where people were told that they had to, or they were given the opportunity to get free tattoos and a free train ride, and then they could work for free, and then they got a free shower, and then they got thrown in the oven. All because they chose, and they chose not to really understand maybe what was going on. And it's stated that 1/3 of the population is going to die because they're going to be deceived and they're going to choose.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and it's not just them, it's the elect, if possible. That word in the Greek means literally those who are chosen and who know better.
mm-hmm.
It's not just the people who don't know and who are listening to mainstream media. It's the elect. It's those who know better, who are guided by the Holy Spirit. They will be deceived if possible.
If you're not paying attention, then you're going to fall victim to false information, right? And I'm not one of being a great source that everybody can trust to say, oh yeah, you're the one for best source of information. But what I'll tell you is, my wife has a nanotechnology and bioscience engineering background from Harvard. She's been in biotech. She's been in pharma. She's been to China 7 years ago. She was invited to do viral research in Wuhan, China 5 years ago by the family of Procter and Gamble and some other people. And she's done a lot of research and continues to do a lot of research on this. And I've posted a bunch on my Facebook page of things that we were talking about yesterday. But it's really important to understand that the most important thing you can do is, one, not worry about like what's going on outside. Like we've got, I think is it Ida or Ira, whatever the hurricane was that they created to smash Louisiana again. It's interesting that we've had 5 hurricanes, all like category 4 or category 5 that all arrive on the same day. It is really interesting that, they all hit on the same day in history. It's like, intriguing, really.
Mathematically impossible.
But you can't worry about what's going on in the outside environment. You only can worry about how you take care of yourself. And that's what's most important, is how you take care of yourself, but also knowing that there is no one silver bullet, right? There is, because you have your brain, you have your gut, you have your microbiome in your gut where your immune system and everything else takes place. You have your lungs, your respiratory system and such. You have all these different systems, and there's no one thing you can do. And it's the thing that drives me absolutely crazy with people promoting and pitching different products. Is like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. You got to do this. I'm like, well, run. Period. If you hear anyone saying that, if we came out and said that, I would tell people run, because I've honestly lost my freaking mind at that point. That there is no silver bullet. That you have to create a foundation, and that's the important part. And once you've built that foundation, then you can build upon it. Because everybody has different needs, for different levels of function or performance. But, there are, as Christina goes over the ABCs, right? There are the principles, right? You have that foundation, that landscape to work off of. And then when you do that, then you can start to see, really significant changes. And the important part is that foundation is pretty much the same for everyone, because at the end of the day, we are human. Those that are Homo sapiens we're all in the same group. So our needs in that aspect are all identical. It doesn't matter what color skin we have based on the amount of melanin that we have, based on where our ancestors were, closer to the equator or closer to a pole, or, what dialect we speak or whatnot. We're all human, right? So our expression, like Jill was hitting on, the expression of symptoms that we have are all unique, because we each are unique. We're unique in our exposure environmentally from the time we're in the womb to every day that we're here. And even if we are exposed to the same thing, the same amounts of the same stuff consistently across a single population, the way our body each individually will store, manage, and try to adapt to that environment is going to be different. Mm-hmm. So then you look at, how do you address the issues? I think that's where we're now.
Right. So I definitely want to point out that what Clayton was touching upon is basically, you can have, 5-year-olds, you can have babies or toddlers or teenagers that are sicker than we have, 80, 90-year-old people that are well and healthy. It's not age. It is absolutely not age. It is first of all, it's what you're born with. Plain and simple. And as a mom, that brings on some guilt, because when you have a kid that's not healthy when they're born, and you're battling and you're fighting for that, and you don't have the support behind you. And I know we have a lot of moms in our group. Christina's a mom, and that's why she got started in what she's doing. It's the exact reason. I think that's why Shanna and I gravitate so much. Not that we don't love Clayton, but that's why we gravitate towards Dr. Christina so much. She is a mom who wanted to protect her family, her kids, herself, so that she could be here for her kids. So a lot of us have had, young ones that we were looking for help. How do we help our kids with their symptoms, right? We go to the people that we're supposed to go to for help, and it made things worse. So, but it's the same reason a 90-year-old can be perfectly healthy. And I challenge you, the older the people that that are healthy, I do this all the time. So how often do you go to the doctor? Because the answer is rare. The answer is they rarely go to the doctor. My immune system is great. I don't feel the need to go to the doctor. I only go when I'm really having a problem, and they seem to be really healthy. So as Clayton was talking about, our bodies are our temple. It's our room, it's our house, it's our apartment, and we're responsible for taking care of it. So we have, first and foremost, we have to clean up the mess. We are a mess. Everybody's a mess. You live in this world, you're a mess. You were born with stuff. You've had rounds of antibiotics. You've eaten foods that are full of all the side dishes, as I call them, herbicides, fungicides, pesticides, all the side dishes that come with all of these foods. You've been poked in the arm, and that comes with neurotoxicity, aluminum, lead, mercury, copper, you name it. So, and those are full of antibiotics. And if you're wondering why kids have peanut allergies, it's in there. It's just listed under a number, right? It's just listed under a number, N64, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So, and then on top of it, we have terrible digestive function. All of those led to our terrible digestive function. One round of antibiotics, 8 to 12 months to restore your microbiome. How many kids out there do you know that had antibiotics every month, every 6 weeks? Yeah, ear infection after ear infection after ear infection. Oh, that antibiotic didn't work. Let's go to the next. Let's go to the next. Let's go to the next. How many rounds of that? Add that up and multiply that by a year each. How do we ever come back from that?
Mm-hmm. That's actually the story of my son. He had at 2 years old, right after he turned 2, he had 7 weeks. For 7 weeks in a row, he had strep throat. And the doctors gave him antibiotic after antibiotic after antibiotic, and it wouldn't help. Then he got consistent UTIs, fungal infection. And then so that was in February. And then by August, the doctor's answer was remove his tonsils and adenoids. Then skip forward to over his 3rd birthday, 1 year, 1 year from the beginning later, they gave him the DTaP or the DTaP. And that night I took him into the ER and he was hospitalized for 4 days. And they said, if I hadn't brought him in, I would have had a dead child. And he was perfectly fine before all the antibiotics.
I think that basically sums up why we're here, why we do what we do. And even as you're listening to the whole first part of this, which started out fungal and kind of went off on a little side story, and I'm okay with that. I'm perfectly okay with that.
We'll get back to it because I have a little information on fungus. We'll get back to it.
Well, we need to know this. This is what parents need to know. Parents need to know to advocate for themselves, to ask the hard questions, to do the research before you just believe, because we did. So learn from our experience, because it caused us to have to battle back.
Well, to hit on that a little bit, because how far down the rabbit hole do I want to go? Hold on, let me process this so I don't go too far and too deep too quickly. You have to understand with the medical profession on how it's designed, right? Medical doctors are, if you want to become a doctor today, you have to be really good at following instruction and following a path, right? If you're really good at memorization and you're good at following a specific process, you can become a doctor. And doctors are trained on how to follow a specific protocol. They're not designed how to treat people, right? People are a lot more complex than a compilation of symptoms and lab work. And that you can see the red. I get to go see a doctor for the first time in 30 years, because I get to I'm going to have my blood work looked at, see if I get to tweak anything, but I don't think so. My triglycerides are high because mom loves to cook stuff that I shouldn't eat. And I haven't been working out. I haven't worked out all freaking year. It's terrible. I played golf twice. So my triglycerides are a little high, but everything else is good. But they're taught to follow specific protocols. And being in Nashville, I live in the heart of healthcare in this country, as far as the systems, are developed. And one of my colleagues is the top integrative cardiologist he's in the United States, one of the top guys in the world in integrative cardiology, right? Has the Hypertension Institute that's here, is world renowned, is the keynote speaker on cardiology for A4M and it used to be the Institute of Functional Medicine, but I don't think he collaborates with them now. But he's top guy in the world in his field, right? And he's an MD. He was a Vanderbilt MD in cardio, went back and got 2 master's degrees in nutrition to understand how to treat his patients and actually get them well, right? So MD had to go get 2 masters to learn about nutrition, and he's written books on nitric oxide and mineral supplementation. And we're working on putting together a clinical study, and I actually have the study outline right here. That we're doing, and having the conversation with him, like, we're going over nitric oxide and this vascular stiffness and some of the key components of looking at heart rate variability and autonomic nervous system function and how it corresponds to vascular function and such. I'm like, do you understand the correlation between heavy metal toxicity and damage to the endothelial lining, which inhibits the production of nitric oxide and such? He's like, I know nothing about heavy metals. I'm like, so you're the world's leading expert on the subject, yet the etiology of all of this. And I was like, look, let me send you something that you you can see real quick that I had one of my docs put together for, that Dory put together for the compendium. And can I show my screen?
I don't know. Can you?
Let me see if I've got the compendium on this computer.
Never tried to share the screen on this.
Oh, there it is. Let me see if I can do this. Share screen, select window or screen, entire screen. Okay, allow. So we can you see me now?
I see you, not your screen.
Browser can't access. Try capturing a different screen to see if, hold on, do this. Share screen, select the window. It's not gonna let me do it. I can't figure this out.
It won't let you.
So
maybe if I change the layout?
no, I think it's just me not understanding how to do it.
Oh.
But
okay.
That's okay. We will go away from that. But I shared with him some of the clinical literature that we have that say for cardiovascular disease that there's 100 or so clinical research studies that are published and proven to show that cardiovascular disease is caused by heavy metals. Hypertension, same thing. Hypercholesteremia, same thing. So you can go down these things and you go, well, you're the leading expert in your field when it comes to medicine, yet you don't understand the etiology because they're not trained. Mm-hmm. If you don't go do the work, you're not going to know.
Right.
And that's what's really, really important. There's a lot you learn in school. There's a lot you learn out of school, and most of which is most important for people to understand now. You don't learn in school, right? My dad was a phenomenal veterinarian, right? Just retired after 44 years of clinical practice. And my dad learned more, and this is what brought my upbringing into great importance, is from the time I was 2, when my parents opened their clinic in Rochester, Washington, they were continually learning, right? The introduction of Chinese medicine, the introduction of minerals and trace mineral supplementation when I was 8. And whether it was puppy puncture or if it was chiropractics or lasers and magnets and essential oils and raw food and all of these different components and medical cannabis, whether it was hemp derived or if it was cannabis derived, and the benefits of micro THC and such for dogs, or if, they got too much THC, what were the problems with that? That you get dogs that have become incontinent and everything. And they continued to learn and adapt, right? Mm-hmm. To provide better care for their patients, because their patients never communicated, right? They didn't come in saying, I have these issues. You go, hey, you got to figure it out. So you can't have an amount of blind faith going in and saying, I'm going to see the doctor, because that's how this system was developed. It was done strategically to get you to buy into a process that you could be controlled to say, talk to this person. He's a doctor. He's the expert. They know. No, they don't. They know what they know. They don't know everything.
Right.
Right. And that's why that when I was growing up, I had a mom. That's what you guys are. That's what you're hitting on. Because it's the moms who solve the problems. It's moms that go, wait a minute, my kid's got a snotty nose. He doesn't need an antibiotic. You know what? Maybe he just needs to go get outside and get some dirt in him and clean some stuff up and blow his freaking nose. Let's try that option, right? So you can't go in with blind faith. You have to use multiple sources and resources. And I think that's, with the connections that we now have on social media and how much content and how much information and data is so readily available, that it's amplified the opportunity for people to be much more proactive about their health and well-being. But as I've mentioned before, if you're not trusting a lot of women, you're out of your mind. I mean, honestly, because they're the source. I mean, I get to be the messenger for my wife, because it's what I was put here for. Because she can't be everyone to everyone all the time, which is what she wants to be, but I have to hold her back. And it's part of, just our corporate aspects of saying, babe, you're not allowed to do that. You're not going to answer every text messages. You're not going to do all of these things. You're not going to help everyone for everything, even though she wants to. You're going to do what you're really, really, really good at. And you're going to let other people to do the balance. So,
and I think that's the wonderful thing about all of these Facebook groups. And as long as we can continue on and have freedom of speech, which is we now have groups of thousands and thousands of people that are able to be reached every Tuesday at 1:00, or, in any other group where people are researching and learning and have lived the life. I will absolutely say, seek out those that have been down that path. Shanna and I have been down that path. Seek out the people that have been there. We've tried it all. You want to know what we tried and how it's worked and why it didn't work, or, what we learned from that. Like Clayton was saying about dogs, you can't ask them how they did on something, but your parents were smart enough to try things out and improve on their thoughts and their research. And that's what Shanna and I do. Can we just meet your parents? Can we just have them on next Tuesday? Or because, I love that.
My dad doesn't do interviews.
All right.
My dad's a lot like me. He's really quiet. I'm the opposite of my dad, but he's content to be out on his 40 acres mowing the field.
Good for him. He deserves it.
But the key is, and this is the difference between humans and animals, right? But to give you the anecdote of this, when my dad started to study Chinese medicine and Chinese herbology and herbal medicine and such, he had a Chinese medicine doctor come in that was showing them how to use specific blends of different herbs in different circumstances. Like Onung Bio is one that's absolutely amazing. It stops hemorrhaging. One herb, you can take it orally. Like if you're going in for surgery, you take it orally, it will stop hemorrhaging. So when they open you up, it will keep you from bleeding profusely. But also if you're in surgery and you nick an artery or something, you can sprinkle it on there and it will help cauterize the wound really quickly. And he was asking this, the herbalist, the doctor, okay, why do you use this combination of these herbs in this situation? And her answer was quite unique. She's like, because my grandfather's grandfather's grandfather did it that way. Yeah, that's science, right? That something that is passed down multiple generations is very scientifically proven, but we've been so indoctrinated into a process. And it's so funny when I get to talk to people that are like, oh, I'm awake. I'm like, oh, really? Because you're still using the same reference material and thinking, oh, well, you don't have any science. I'm like, and I've argued this with my wife, right? Because she comes from the science world. And when we first got together and I would make comments to her, she's like, you can't do that and you can't say those things. I'm like, well, yeah, I can, because if I've seen the same results in a population of people consistently, how many times do you need to see the same outcome before you can determine that that is consistent? Is it 10? Is it 50? Is it 100? How many times do you need to see the same thing? I'm like, is it 100 times? If I've seen the same thing 100 times over in different aspects, and I see the same consistent outcomes, is that something that you can say is consistent? She's like, yes, you could. I'm like, good, then I can make that claim because, I've seen it. Right. So that's what's really important to understand is the term medicine, the whole philosophy of taking care of people is not just predicated on, one specific system that's been designed to funnel money into a system of control that people are waking up to now. And so you have to really take the approach of, okay, great. What are the problems? Well, one, we're really freaking toxic. We're polluted in so many different aspects. How do you address that? Is there one thing you do? No, there's not. You have to hit it from multiple ways. Great. So you have clean slate, you have restore, and even zero in is supportive in that manner because of how it functions and what it does. And we can kind of probably hit on all three of them, especially from a fungal conversation on why it's beneficial. But then as you start to tie everything together and you start to see amazing outcomes, right? And it's like we're watching this video. I don't think people even recognize the amazing outcomes that are sitting in front of them right now. Like if you look at Shanna's skin, she's like 15 years younger, and Jill looks like she went to go get her hair done for the 5th time this month, and she hasn't been in 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah. I used to dye my hair every other week because of how much gray I had.
Get closer to the camera so you can show off. I mean,
I love your hair.
Thank you.
You look at how healthy your hair is now. And it's due to collagen and all of the great aspects of development. And it's funny that people are trying to sell all of these different products for all these different things. They're like, no, if you do a couple really core things well,
right,
all of those things take place.
Your body naturally does it.
Right.
And I've had conversations with some people the last couple of weeks. They're like, well, what about NAD? I'm like, well, NAD is actually produced naturally if your system's working properly. They're like, what about glutathione? I'm like, well, glutathione production is shut off by mercury toxicity. So if you remove the mercury, then the methylation process can actually start taking place properly. And glutathione production is actually going to be enhanced. So you don't have to worry about that one. You don't have to take glutathione supplements because glutathione is created. How about collagen? Well, the primary issues with collagen are toxicity and inhibiting production. And one key thing, this is what's so freaking hilarious, right? And we're playing with some different collagen and different stuff to maybe do one more thing for the gut that we're looking at playing with. But if you look at all the hydrolyzed collagen products, and there's such a big conversation in circles of hydrolyzed collagen versus powdered collagen, the difference is water. Seriously. But there's an addition in all of the liquid hydrolyzed collagen supplements, and it's not the collagen. They put silicon dioxide in the liquid collagen.
Guess what clean slate is?
So then you go, and I've had this conversation with a couple of people joking about it because they didn't understand the conversation point. They're like, you see on the label, they're like, yeah, you see the silica? They're like, yeah. I said, that's actually the active and they're hiding it. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, look it up. Because silica is the building block, right? And if you want our world leaves clues, right? That no matter how you look at what's going on in our world, if you look at some of the details that you can understand, whether you talk about it from a conspiracy theory standpoint, that they love to use symbolism, right? Or God leaves clues for everything. There's a location in this country, a geographical region that is one of the most financially powerful geographic locations in this country, called Silicon Valley. You know what's funny with that? Why would they use silicon? Oh, because it's silicon that creates all the computer chips, which you can't get many right now because China kind of shut off production of them just to put a squeeze on everybody a little bit. But when you understand that we are an amazing biological quantum computer, and you do and you do a little bit of anatomy and physiology research, and you find that the primary building block that we need besides water is silica. And then you know that, okay, God did a really good job of putting everything we ever needed on this freaking planet, whether we came here first or he made sure that everything was available to us. But it's only available at the time of greatest need, when we figure out how to do it. Mm-hmm. This amazing little crystal has been, and honestly, when you look at it, it's kind of been sheltered, right? I think intentionally, when you look at it, that you hear about quartz, you hear about everything else, but Clino is something that is, it's not talked about. We love to go to crystal stores here in Nashville with me and Christina and my daughter, our daughter, not my sperm, my kid now. But when you go into the crystal stores, right, and they got all of these different crystals, all different kinds, all these different rocks, all this different energy, and all, it's amazing what these amazing rocks and crystals can do. Not one of them that I've ever been in. We've gone all over the world. We've been in Santorini, Greece, Nashville, New York, Portland, Seattle, all throughout the country, different parts of the world. You know something that they never have? Freaking clinoptilolite. And you know what's really interesting? If you travel a little bit, and I think everybody at some point has seen photos of Santorini, Greece. Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. That the water is so beautiful. It is this blue that you can't even create if you use the toilet bowl cleaners that give you blue water. It is not comparable. And we went on a catamaran that we did a tour around the island and around the volcano, because it is an active volcano. And Santorini, the island and surrounding area, it's still volcanically active. Apparently that's where what was it called? Atlantis likely was located. And the key component is there's three beaches basically that they have in Santorini, 3 colors: red, black, white. So as we were taking the tour, they gave us the little history, you know, that the red beach and the black beach are the youngest beaches, last few hundred years, 400 years or so, because of volcanic eruptions and such, that you have the red clay, there's red rocks, and you have black rocks. But then you have, as we were taking the tour, these amazing white, like bleach white crystal cliffs. Absolutely beautiful. So we're on the catamaran, and of course the geek has to do the research and ask the question of, it's a white crystal in a volcanic region. Google, is Santorini clinoptilolite? And guess what? The whole freaking island is a massive filter. Mm-hmm. They won't mine the island for Clino, which is known because it is the island, and it's also one of the largest energetic portals on the entire freaking planet, mm-hmm. which is really, really cool as well. The reason the water is so blue is the whole island is filtering the whole thing. It's a massive, massive filter that's this amazing crystal. Mm-hmm. So you go, wait a minute, this stuff's been around for eons. The Mayans used it. And what's crazy about this, the Romans used it to clean the aqueducts 5,000 years ago or so. What was discovered, and it's amazing to think of this, because we've done so much with archaeology over the last few hundred years, right? Because of our development and the technology and everything that we have, and, you know, being able to go all over the world, It was learned last year, published in October of last year, that the Mayan civilization was doing the same. They were doing the same thing. It was not known until last year when they uncovered it.
Yeah, I remember.
And I was talking with Sasha Stone about this, was it yesterday? Day before yesterday, because he just released our interview, which was absolutely amazing. So you guys have to share that in the group.
Yeah, we will.
Something that is just freaking gangbusters, that he crushed it. But he's down in Mexico, and he's at a lake that is cenote fed. He said it's the most amazing water that he's ever seen on Earth, and he's been all over the world, from estuaries and going through all the deserts and all the different lakes and seas all over the world trying to find the best water. And he's like, this place is crazy because it's cenote fed. There's these crystalline cenotes that all the water comes through. I'm like, yeah, it's Cleno. I'm like, this makes sense. It's all starting to come out now.
Yep.
And you have this amazing crystal that's been, I won't say suppressed, but it's been set aside because of what it can do and what it does for us, right? Of how we resonate with it, but with what Christina's been able to do to take this crystal and basically unlock it. It's the only way to really understand it. Is she figured out, and granted, I've been working in this space for 16 years, but her mind with how she sees things and processes them is that she worked with our manufacturing team to figure out a process to actually unlock this cage structure, right? Because you hear with clenoptilolite, everyone talk about the cage. The one, and you guys have posted this on the in the group, that when I found it last year, because it had only been out for a couple of years, the key thing is not the cage. It's the silica.
Silica, yep.
It's the orthosilicic acid. It's the bioavailable silica. And the problem is, in all of these other steps that we've done in the past, right? Of when I'll use names, right? I'll drop names so everybody knows. When Wayora started this with what Harvey Kaufman had done from Life Health Science, and then with the original process that Rick Deitch took from Life Health Science and took from Harvey Kaufman with Wayora, that then they changed the process to not pay Life Health Science their royalties and tried to do it on their own, and created their acid process, which was the same way that Life Health Science was doing it. And then you have the creation of Cosiva, you have the creation of, I'll simplify this, you have Cosiva, you have Touchstone, there's Navon now, you have a few other companies, you have some retail products that I created, but they all use acids. And in the use of the acid, while they are keeping some of the cages, they're dissolving all the silica. So they're destroying the silica in those processes. And they don't know this because, I mean, there's no level of science there, right? And I can say, look, I can say that because I actually come from that process. I'm the guy, right? I'm the one no one likes because I know where all the skeletons are buried. I buried a couple of them. It's like, look, I put a couple of those bodies in the ground. I know this, but what she's been able, and here's the thing, we'll get back to it. Of 16 years of work, you know how many women are involved in all of these processes? Just one now. You're right. Up to this point, none.
Yeah.
Right.
You know how many are involved now? One.
Right.
Do you know which one created the process that makes this more amazing than you could ever imagine? Just one.
Yep.
And do you know who's getting attacked because of what she did? Just one. Because she's a woman, right? Which is horrific, but it's how business is done, right? Because weak men attack women for being dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like fungus. Oh, so we can get back to it. Oh,
bring it together.
like a bunch of fungus and mold, right? And that's what's really crucial, is getting down to, you know, the root of the issue, and identifying what the underlying issues are, and letting moms be moms,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because there's, as you guys know, I mean, you see women that are moms, and especially if you have more than one kid, right? It's just different. It changes you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then if you've been through challenges like the two of you have been through, and like probably a lot of people that will watch this, well, I can guarantee everyone that watches this, because if everyone watching this doesn't think that as a mom they had issues, they can look to their mom and they were the issue, right?
Right.
Because we all have our unique attributes, but it's moms that always work to find solutions.
Right.
They have to, because it's your nature. And you know, getting into that and knowing now, and it's not hype, right? Because we have the proof, we have the outcome data, right? And it's not something you guys would argue with, and I don't think there's anybody else that's been through a greater journey, because you guys were trying to take care of your kids. You've seen all the other zeolite products. I mean, that's what this group initially was started upon. You know, it's like, look, we are trying to find the solutions, and the conversations that we've had in the past, that you guys were feeling guilty, right? Because of, well, we were doing this research and we thought this was the best thing. And at the time it was the best thing that you had available.
Right.
Right.
But here's the difference. Men will say, oh, well, I have this, I'm just going to sell it and I'm going to make money. Women are uncompromising.
Yeah.
They're like, no, I don't think I'm done yet. I'm going to find what's best. Yeah. It's not, oh, this is good enough, because good enough doesn't exist in a mom's world.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Good enough's not done yet.
That's true.
Right. And that's really where we are in this process. Is Clean Slate has had its evolution, right? And we get questioned on that. People are like, why'd the label change? I'm like, well, let me give you two answers. One, because it changed. And two, because it changed.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we started with as the foundation of what Clean Slate was, which was the fragments with a little vitamin C, Mama is uncompromising in what she does. Whatever, and you guys know this because moms are all this way. You do something well and you're like, it's not good enough.
Right.
Like
could be better.
One of our favorite things to make at home is stroganoff, which is, you know, and I didn't have stroganoff last night. I had a bunch of rice because we had sushi. That's why my eyes are all puffy, because my liver's going, you idiot. But the key thing is you can make stroganoff, right? You get great noodles and hopefully not milk, but it happens. And you make stroganoff, and then you get it and it tastes absolutely amazing. And then what does mom do? No, I would tweak this next time. I'd do this just a little bit better. You know, I might add this, you know, put some sour cream.
But it needed this.
Yeah, it's like, nah, you know what? I'm going to add this next time. I didn't put enough pepper.
That's so true.
And it's that.
Or like me, you just bring it right over and you're like, nope, it needs more. No, it's okay. No, it's not.
You have to add it. It's like, oh, no, I didn't do enough. That's what's crucial. And honestly, you don't see that anywhere else. I mean, I've been around, you know, tons of companies, you know, that distribute different products and manufacture products. You don't see people that are constantly tinkering. They're like, look, it's not good enough. Let me look at the research. Let me see if we do this. And that's why we went from, okay, there's this, and the product looks, translucent, to now people are asking the question, well, why does Clean Slate turn gold? I'm like, because she added a massive amount of trace minerals. Mm-hmm. She increased the ascorbic acid because she wanted it to be better.
Right. Yes. I've actually heard her say that, to where you didn't want the sea salts because of the taste in it. And she was like, nope, we're keeping it because it's what people need. I don't care.
Right.
Well, it was also it's the beautiful part about having a couple own a company, and we're uncompromising in quality. And I know my role, right? I know I'm here to serve her. Mm-hmm. And traditionally, if we were looking at this from a true corporate philosophy, and the same thing goes for Restore, right? Because we got 2 minutes before we got guy girl.
I know, and I still wanted to say something about the fungus. So keep going.
Say something about fungus.
I just wanted. Yeah. Oh no, go ahead.
I forgot what I go.
I did it. Okay, I just wanted to let people know, because we did promise about fungus. So I just wanted to give a little bit of information, because a lot of people wonder, why do I have fungus? Nobody else has as much fungus. There's actually a genetic code in your genes called, I believe it's the CARD9. It's a protein that, with toxicity that goes into the cell, it actually mutates that cell, the toxicity does, and it makes you more susceptible to fungal growth, to where your body can't fight it, and it suppresses the immune system. So whenever you remove those toxicities out of the body, then that actually helps the genes heal to where your body becomes immune to the fungus and gets rid of it naturally, instead of absorbing it and growing it within the body.
So maybe from an epigenetic standpoint, you turn it off and on.
Mm-hmm. You can turn it off and on. Yep, depending on what you do. And that's why we love Clean Slate, because Clean Slate, not only does it remove all of those heavy metals and toxicities, but because of Dr. Christita's genius of the ascorbic acid and using the vitamin C receptor into the cell, it can actually go in and it can help with that gene mutation, turn it on and off.
I'm getting on my other Zoom, on my other laptop. We can finish this.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to pop in here and talk about Restore for a little bit, because
I was going to hit on it, but go.
Yeah. Okay. So the digestive system plays a hugely important part in our fungal overgrowth. So if you don't have enough stomach acid, it keeps the sphincters from opening and closing correctly. So that's why people get heartburn. It's not an overabundance of acid. It is a lack of stomach acid that is the problem. It allows the sphincter to stay open, and the
say sphincter again.
And then the acid comes up, and that's why you have heartburn. You need to go to your men's day.
We're going to talk about sphincters in men's group.
Great. I'm so glad that. Yes.
We're blaming Jill.
No, let's not blame Jill. You can talk about it, but do it in Men's Day and don't bring up my name. Anyway, the lack of stomach acid is what creates the system for not working, and then you have an overabundance of bacteria, yeast, fungus, all of that, because it's not breaking down correctly. Mm-hmm. Oh goodness, he's on the other. So
yeah,
I'm saying.
Say sphincter again, because everyone else is listening in men's group.
Hi, men's group. Have an amazing time with Clayton. We'll be women's group here in just like 30 seconds. But Restore includes turmeric, which is antifungal, black seed oil. I can't even concentrate. Apple cider vinegar, so that we have enough stomach acid in the digestive system to work correctly. Now I really can't focus.
It's the nano emulsified apple cider vinegar too, so it goes directly into the alveoli of the digestive system and of the stomach. So it's not
Sandy's watching right now, and he can actually speak to his experience, because when he had his pH tested with his functional med practitioner, and this was over, I think it was changed within 15 or 30 days. Was it right about 15, 30 days, something like that? Anyway, his stomach pH was tested, and it was about 5, right? Which is where people have acid reflux issues. Mm-hmm. Right. It's not, and it's important that if you have acid reflux and GERD and all of those issues, it's not that you don't have an acid problem. You have a too little acid problem.
Right.
And you don't need a lot to make a big difference if it's done properly, right? The apple cider vinegar does some really unique aspects, but his pH went from 5 down to 2.5. And guess what 2.5 is? That's ideal.
Right.
Where things are supposed to be. You get healthy. Then you don't need all of these other proton pump inhibitors and everything, because when you do that, Jill, work with me on this.
Nope.
Your sphincter works properly.
Both of them. Wonderful.
You did great, Jill. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I'm going to hit on leaky gut really
You guys have to get to girl group, but we can do
Yes.
leaky gut issue.
Yes, we are going to. So Shannon and I are going to pop over to girl group.
Oh, Bojana.
Dr. Christina's going to be there, people. So let's,
That looks like a woman.
we're going to pop over there. And cameras are a must because you have to prove your.
I know, Roger. I know.
Put yourself on mute, Clayton.
No.
Yes.
All right. You guys can finish it up.
Bye. Thank
But
you.
Happy Tuesday. Have fun with girl group. I know that there's a special, it's crazy because girl group
It's
gets
Dr. Christina.
Dr. Rom.
Yes.
Guy group
It's Clayton and Sandy.
gets a bunch of sausage. I mean,
Have a good guy group.
Yeah.
y'all.
Bye. Okay, so we're just gonna, as the girl group gets set up, we'll all pop over there in 1 minute. But I did want to hit on leaky gut for 1 second because I think it's really important because Restore actually helps with that as well. So when you have open junctures, so this is your digestive system, and the lining has open junctures, so the undigested proteins get through, and it creates an immune response in the blood. So Restore helps to tighten those junctures. So that the undigested proteins don't get into the bloodstream and you don't have an immune response. If you have food allergies or even environmental allergies, you have leaky gut is what you have. So you need to heal the leaky gut so that those proteins don't get into the bloodstream. You don't have the immune response. And then eventually you can start to decide whether or not you want to try those foods again, maybe introduce them in like the smallest, teeniest way. But Restore, so turmeric and black seed oil are antifungal. And I think Shannon and I are probably going to do some posts this week, maybe in the next day or two, because I don't think either of us covered all of the fungal things that were in our brain. And I know we want to get to some of those, but we want to get to girl groups. So do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, we'll post those about the fungal. Maybe we can hit on the antifungal of what's in Restore because that's really important. Especially Native Americans, they living in South Dakota, we have a lot of them around here and they're so good about those traditions that hand down. And the black seed oil is huge, but the way that Dr. Christina has been able to nano emulsify it and put it in almost like a homeopathic way and microdosing to where your body gets what it needs, but at a cellular level is absolutely genius because you don't need as much. And it actually goes under like your moles, your freckles and everything. That's actually fungus underneath the skin.
Skin tags are fungus.
Yes, skin tags, all of it. Yes. And I actually take a little bit of Restore and actually rub it on my my freckles. And I have this one that I've had since I was a little girl, and it used to be black and it's almost gone.
That's amazing.
It's almost completely gone. So and I've dealt with skin cancers. I've had several skin cancers. So it's really, really important. But what Dr. Christina's done is you don't have to take all these individual things and try to dose yourself and everything. You just take the Restore and it deals with everything at a homeopathic, natural way, micro dosing, so the body gets what it needs and nothing's wasted.
Right. And so I know a lot of people say, well, I have turmeric, I have black seed oil, I'll just take what I have. And that's wonderful because, if you have it, go ahead and use it, that's fine. But you have to remember that if I gave you flour and sugar and eggs and baking soda, and I said, make a cake, you would need a recipe. The recipe is the important part. There's a reason why she was so methodical about what she used, where she sourced it from, how she put it together. And it matters. How you put it together matters. If Shanna and I were both given the exact same ingredients and no recipe, we would both have a failure of a cake.
A different failure too.
It would be completely different from each other.
And we would never be able to repopulate it if it were to work, because we wouldn't know what we did. And then it may taste different because of the sourcing. Like, it took Dr. Christina 6 months to find the correct turmeric that was sufficient for what she know it needed and what it would do in the body. The others didn't cut it.
Right. And so when Clayton talks about that, how many moms are out there? He described me exactly, and I saw Shanna shaking her head also. We make dinner and the family's like, oh, this is really good. And you're thinking, nope, I could do better.
Yep.
So I think we have to take that into consideration, because as an amazing scientist, she really took her time and made sure it was better, always better. And they took their time as far as putting out Clean Slate and the extra sea salts and the extra vitamin C that wasn't in the original product. And then when she was making Restore, she was very methodical about it. Same with Zero In. I know people will say all the time, I have that ingredient. I have one or two of those ingredients. I'll just use that. And quite honestly, I don't know who else out there has used Zero In. There's nothing like it.
No, I've used several other brain and hormone enhancing things. Like one of them was NRF2. I know you and I both used to use that.
Right. Not even close.
No.
Not even close. No. And that's supposed to increase your glutathione levels by 300% in 30 days. And you and I both scanned for that, and that's not the case. So, but as Clayton was saying, it's, mercury toxicity is what will keep your body from making its own glutathione. So supplementing, I see NAC out there. Everybody is on the NAC bandwagon, and I just want to hug them and say, can we get rid of the mercury? Because the other problem with NAC is it's a sulfur related product. So I'm not sure who out there has sulfur issues or what anybody knows about that. But if your transsulfuration pathway is blocked and you try to use NAC, you could actually make your issues worse.
Yes.
Same with liposomal glutathione. And I don't know, has anybody else tried to get the sulfur, rotten egg smelling, tasting things down? My husband will eat anything except horseradish, literally. And I handed him liposomal glutathione once. This was years ago. And he handed it back and he said, not a chance. So
and it's expensive. That sucker is expensive.
And it's only good for 30 days. So, so it's important to get to the root cause. We are all about the root cause. Shanna and I are always we go backwards. And anything that somebody asks us, we start working backwards. So, you have inflammation. Okay, so inflammation is the base of XYZ. Well, why do you have the inflammation? Oh, because I have, my lungs are inflamed, or I have food allergies. Okay, why? Why do you have those? That's what we're here for. We're always in the why. We always want to know, let's work backwards and get even further. Let's get to that root cause. And that's the way Dr. Christina is too, which is, I don't know if you are a woman and you are still on here at 1 minute and almost at 1 hour and 8 minutes later, leave us, hop over to Dr. Christina, because we're headed.
You can rewatch us. You can rewatch us. Dr. Christina's not recorded.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So everybody hop over there. We'll see you next Tuesday. We definitely have some additional information that we want to give out here in this group. So on Fungus, so we will go ahead and get those done.
We'll get that up. And I want to do a really quick shout out to Stephanie, who gave me some beautiful nail polish.
Oh,
isn't that pretty? Thank you, Stephanie. I love it. I know. I got it in the mail yesterday. Anyway, okay.
All right. See you with Dr. Christina on the women's.
Bye, guys.
Comments.
Yep. In the comments. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Bye.